thirsty.
There's a difference there.
That clock's slow, just saying. You can go ahead and start.
All right. Our Apple phones say 6 p.m., so we're going to run with that. We'll call this meeting of the Charter Township of Comstock Planning Commission to order. And if everyone would join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Up first, we have the approval of the agenda. Any changes or anything anyone wants to add? Subtract, multiply, we're good. Okay. Looking for a motion on that.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as written.
Support.
Motion made by Commissioner Sherwood, supported by Commissioner Nichols to approve the agenda as submitted. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. Next up, approval of the minutes. We'll first address the minutes from February 19th, 2026. Anyone have any edits?
I didn't see anything.
All right.
I make a motion that we approve the minutes from February 19th, 2026.
Support.
Motion made by Commissioner Nichols, supported by Commissioner Sherwood. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. Next up, the minutes from February 26th, 2026.
One question. Page 11, number 32, where I shared in the past that Gilsmark was required to do this to sell food out of a food truck on Friday afternoon. It was to sell it in the parking lot on a Friday afternoon where you just set up a canopy and a tent. So it was not a food truck. Under the mobile vendor ordinance.
Number 32. You got that, Casey? Yep. Okay.
That was it.
All right. I didn't have anything. So be looking for a motion on that one.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of February 26, 2026 with the amendment to the motion.
Support.
Motion made by Commissioner Sherwood to approve the February 26th meeting minutes with the as amended, supported by Commissioner Nichols. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. All right, moving along to citizen comment. A citizen may state their name and address and may speak only for one time for no more than 3 minutes. This time may not be given to another citizen to extend their time. The person speaking has the floor and no other citizen shall speak during someone else's time. During this time, you'll be making statements to the board without discussion from the board members, but you are welcome to make an appointment with planning and zoning staff to discuss your comments further. Please keep comments clean and respectful.
Hello, Jason Knight. One of the things when I was on the previous board, I talked a lot about was we need housing in this area, right? I know Mr. Watts isn't here to talk about this later on. We have heard many people in the community have their concerns about the homeless folks running around, right? That's not something we can really address, but we do have a housing shortage. Mr. Watts wants to build houses, and I know homeless folks aren't going to be able to afford those. But in housing, there's phases, right? And we need that kind of housing, we need affordable housing, just the different levels. And I know there's talk about green spaces and all this other stuff, but you need a mixture of it all, right? And so we can also, as a township, you can encourage ordinances and also developers that want to come, hey, this is what we're looking for this, can you meet us? We're looking for, can you meet us? It starts here with you guys to make some of those decisions, right? And then the bigger board can help push that through as well. And I can see where this frustrates people, the smaller spaces, but once again, we're in a housing shortage, right? And right now, if we were to build on the full big lot that the previous ordinance was, or I can't remember if you guys are addressing that ordinance size or not, it costs $300 to $350 a square foot to build right now. So we have an individual who's looking, hey, let me build smaller spaces so we can help address this crisis, right, that we're in. So I appreciate you guys considering this and looking forward to push it through, I hope. I understand the concerns of the community, but we need to look at all the approaches, right? And we can work with the community to bring everything in to ideally make everybody happy. I still got 2 minutes. Shut the front door.
Casey was a little late. You got about a minute 20.
So, all right. So the next time somebody comes to you and says they're cold, tell them to go stand in the corner. It's always 90 degrees. Huh?
There it is.
There you go. Have a great night.
Thank you.
I guess it's me. Anthony Sherman, 5215 Fordham Avenue. I do have concerns about the septic and water. I'm assuming that's going to be switched to public coming in, probably on Leigh, over on that side. I'm on the other side. I'm on the other.
Casper, actually.
Casper. I'm on the other side on Fordham, and I actually was wondering how close these houses are going to be to my backyard.
Can I make a suggestion? Sorry, you might want to include these comments in the public hearing part instead of the citizen comment, because it will then go in the record with that public hearing about the subject. You're welcome to continue if you'd like, but there's an opportunity to speak during the public hearing, and then those comments get recorded in the minutes in that part. Up to you.
Well, Mr. Watts.
I can answer them. Feel free to ask them and I'll answer for you.
Okay, okay, so basically over here, I see you got some space here. I was wondering.
Public comment has to be addressed to us. So you can continue.
I know what you're looking for, I'll address it.
I was going to say, you can continue to talk, and when we get to the public hearing, Mr. Watts will stand up and have an opportunity to speak, and so he can probably address those things there, but you have to address the
Okay.
board in this part. I'm sorry.
So I was just basically wondering how far from their backyard to my backyard it will be. And since this is going to be here, maybe we can plant a bunch of trees. Maybe. So, block it there. I guess that's basically all I had. So the other main thing is the sewage and stuff. I don't know how that's going to work. I don't think it's going to affect because I'm on a well and septic, so I'm sure that's not going to affect me over on my side. So I don't know how that's going to affect, if anything, but that's about it. So, yeah.
Picking up trash. Good, I love it. Hi, I'm Kelly George. I live on Leigh Avenue. I actually live 3 houses north of where this development is proposed. And this is me eating crow, okay? I am saying that we attended this meeting, I don't know, back when the rezoning was happening, and we were angry and we were fired up, and there were a lot of us that just did not like it. I was angry and fired up last week too. It didn't change anything. However, I did the adult thing, which I really wish a lot of this community would do, and I spoke with Matt. So Matt and I had an hour-long conversation in which I said, these are my concerns, right? I live on a pretty quiet street. You're about to put 138 units back there and funnel the traffic through. But we talked about things so I could see things from his perspective and not just mine. It's his property, right? He owns it. He can put stuff on it. I think I see things a little bit better. So this is me eating crow and saying, maybe it's time for this township to start acting like grown adults and having conversations instead of bringing our anger here to this podium, causing a scene, and then walking away and blaming everybody for not fixing it. I am not overly thrilled about it, right? Like I lose my solace. But Matt and I talked about it. We understand why. There are no plans to tear up our street. There are no plans to, right, hook into things. Here, I'm worried about my rose bushes. That was my biggest concern. They're there, they're established. I'm feeling better after talking to him. I'm trusting the process. I'm trusting that you guys are making the right decision, and I'm trusting Matt. And then if it's not, then
You'll yell at me.
yes, I will yell at him. I will call him and I will address him, and I will not come to you guys and take it out on you guys. So this is just me saying, I guess, maybe at some point we need to start being adults and stop taking it out on the people who sit in those chairs and start talking to the people who are bringing some of this up. So that's it.
Appreciate you seeking, hey Kelly, is it Kelly?
Yes.
I appreciate you seeking to understand instead of just
Gotta do something.
doing what we do best, right?
So I agree with most of that, except he doesn't get to pass the rules. You do. We should direct it all to you. We can talk to him all we want. He's just trying to make money.
You gotta direct us.
I am directing to you.
Okay.
He's just trying to make money. That's it. We as a community have a right to go to the board that makes the rules and speak out against it. Talking to anyone does nothing if the rules are not going to be changed, because he can't change them, like I said. I still think this is a horrible idea. Affordable housing doesn't mean smaller housing. That just means people get put into a trailer park type situation when you get to spend $350,000 on a house. Seems stupid to me.
All right, if there is no additional citizen comment, we will move on to new business, which is the step one review and public hearing of the Leigh Avenue site condominium. Kyle or Casey, do you want to kick us off on that?
Sure. Thank you, Madam Chair. So I would like to ask the commission kind of indulge us here. We have not done a site condo for my time with you, nor Casey's time. So this is we'll say newer provisions to look at. The provisions that we have tonight before you to review are under general ordinances, not part of the zoning ordinance. So it's not a common item that you see every meeting. So if you will indulge me, I'd like to kind of maybe do a more detailed analysis of our review compared to what we have done in the past where it's that high level. So starting, the applicant is requesting tentative approval to construct approximately 138 units, site condos, on this parcel, which is it's R1C Cluster Housing Zoning District. It is off of Leigh, Fordham, in that area. Thank you, Casey, for the map. So within on page 19 of your packets, we kind of start the site condo review. The first part discusses submission completeness. We've listed through here, again, this follows right from our general ordinances, what is required. We've put in the plan response for it, and then if the information has been provided and noted, yes, to be determined, partial, so forth, I'm gonna stay away from this one because it's just more about is the submission completed or not. The second part we look at is street standards. Is there a thoroughfare plan for compliance? We noted during our review that I don't actually know if the township has a thoroughfare compliance plan. We know that the roadways run through the road commission, so there will be discussions with the road commission on, if they will accept it, the proposed streets or not. We look at the continuation of existing streets. Those are shown on your plan to be a continuation of the internal street network next to Leigh, Margaret, and Joyce. So that does partially comply. We also look at the extension to boundary for future projections. It looks like stub streets with temporary turnarounds will be provided at phase boundaries and then will be fully developed once the project is complete. We also need to look at primary road, major road thoroughfare treatment. The proposed development will not abut county primary roads, and what I mean by this is like H Avenue, Sprinkle Road, and so forth. Those would be considered more primary roads, but it will be internal local streets is what we consider. Private streets, our understanding is that all streets proposed will be public, so therefore private standards are not going to be reviewed under this. Again, the township and the road commission have to accept them as public streets. 2 or more access streets, because of the proposed unit count is above 50. There are 2 proposed accesses off of this development, which you can see in your site plan review. Street naming conventions fall more towards the county in that regard. I know the applicant will work with his engineer. They'll submit naming conventions to the county for their approval and review. So that's not really before you tonight on the naming convention. That follows at a different agency. Intersection angles, it is going to be a grid-based layout with right angles. Further from there, looking at page 22 of your packet, offset intersections, connections to Leigh Avenue on the south side must be determined. We also need to look at max residential street length. The applicant is requesting a waiver from the township board to allow for greater than 1,000 linear feet of roadway length, and I'll let Mr. Watts speak further to that and how that might impact site design. Primary road right-of-way width, all streets are proposed to be 66 feet wide, which conforms to the county standards. Permanent dead-end street lengths, temporary, again, turnarounds will be there, but ultimately removed upon completion of the development. Part 3 talks about lots and building sites. This provision is for the lot itself. It is not for the home size. It's not for affordability. It is strictly looking at how large is the parcel in question, and that is what you're looking at tonight further. I don't want to belittle it, but we're not looking at what sizes he's going to build of homes. We're looking strictly at what is the lot width, depth, and area that is proposed with this development. So minimum unit width in the R1C 60 feet. 60 feet is proposed for this project. Setbacks will be 25 front, 35 rear, and 10 and 5 on the sides, and those will have to be satisfied upon each submission of the building permit. Access to public or private streets, all units will have frontage along a proposed public street. Reserve strips, we have none proposed. Natural features preservation, there is some common space that is indicated on the site plan that will be retained. Floodplain, again, that is within your packet here. However, they indicate an entire site is outside of the 0.2 annual chance of flood. There's some additional comments and considerations we put in here for you as well, and then I'll jump back to kind of our findings in the front. We offer these just as information to help guide you in this process. Phasing, again, it's a tentative approval, if granted, applies to the overall preliminary plan. Each subsequent phase should be will continue to demonstrate compliance with the standards, especially for step 2 and 3. Tentative approval period confers a 1-year period during which lot sizes, orientation, street layout, and applicable ordinance regulations are vested. Step 2 requirements state upon tentative approval, the applicant will be required to submit detailed working drawings, including grades, draining structures, proposed utilities, road construction plans, and other more engineered drawings than what is before you tonight. So if we, thank you, Casey. Move back up front, what we have done as well in your staff report on page 17 of your packet, we listed out some preliminary comments we had for the applicant and his team. Those are listed in the italicized, and then a subsequent response and updated plans are what is noted within the March 4th heading there. And they have been satisfied. One being conceptual, the design does not clearly note what is to be considered community open space. That has been corrected upon revision. 2, there appears to be a dedicated access way between 5163 Fordham Avenue and 5181 Fordham. The applicant notes that the right-of-way between these 2 addresses is approximately 60 feet, where a minimum of 66 feet is required. Looking at the plat index map for that area today, it is clearly showing it's a 60-foot wide dedicated strip of land. I would say, I don't want to say it's a parcel, but it's a dedicated strip of land. So that is within the plat of the Fordham area as shown. Street naming will need to be coordinated with the RCKC and County Planning GIS to ensure acceptable name conventions. Again, what happens there is the applicant, for really any site condo or plat, will submit naming conventions to the county. They have their own system to make sure it aligns with their grid and however else, and then they'll provide feedback to applicants to say, yes, those names are acceptable or not. 4, the applicant seeks relief from the 1,000 linear foot stipulation for roadway length. The township board will need to decide if such waiver is appropriate. They have that authority to modify the roadway length. And number 5, identification of preservation, retention of natural features that will not be impacted by the proposed development. Again, the applicant has provided an updated plan showing open space concepts on here, and I'll let him further speak to the preservations of open space. However, we did note in our secondary review that the ordinance, the general ordinance, does state that any trees, vegetation within the public right-of-way shall be removed. So the applicant is limited to what can be preserved because the ordinance does state it shall be removed to, not impede upon roadway construction. And that is noted within that ordinance section under 5, the March 4th review as well, if anyone is interested. So again, this is a general ordinance, not part of your zoning ordinance. And as other topics have come up in this commission, you are making a recommendation to the township board, who will then decide if the tentative plan can be approved or however they'd like to move it forward. So you can, still need to hold a public hearing, hear comments from the applicant as well, and then from there, determine how you would like to proceed. So in a nutshell, that is what this is before you.
Thank you, Kyle. Typically, we open up public hearings so we can hear public comment first, and then we can discuss after. So I'd be looking for a motion to open up the public hearing.
I'll make a motion to open public hearing.
Support.
Motion made by Commissioner Sherwood, supported by Commissioner Nichols to open public hearing. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed? No? Motion passes and public hearing is now open. So we'll be listening to any public comments.
Seth Sherman, 5215 Fordham Avenue. So I don't know much about like local politics and how all this works, but I do know I've lived in this house my whole life, and those woods have been back there for a long time. We went to this other meeting last time, and you guys approved the zoning, I believe it was, immediately, and he just right up and left after that. Didn't even listen to the people that were here. I don't want to I agree we should all be adult about it. I want to make that clear, but it does seem like he doesn't care all that much. And from my perspective, I don't want to be rude, but it's what it seems like. It's just for the money. A bunch of those small houses, I don't know how that will solve homeless problems if they're a ton of money. But that's what I have to add. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Elizabeth Kucinich. I live at 2948 Casper Street. I just wanted to address the traffic volume and speeding that may or may not occur. I've been working diligently, arduously with the Road Commission for 9 years to get speed humps down Casper, which is used as a drag strip. I've lived at my address for 14, 15 years now. So a lot of the concern is that traffic volume will increase even more, which is already a problem for that street. So hopefully the speed humps and the traffic circle at Borges and Casper will be put in this summer. So hopefully that will deter. So really it's just a suggestion of maybe more speed humps that will decrease people from coming into the area that don't live there. And that will, of course, deter people that shouldn't be there anyway. Homeless, people riding bikes, people stealing, people this, people that don't belong in the neighborhood that shouldn't be there. So that's pretty much it. So thank you.
Thank you.
So what I forgot to say when I was up here earlier, it's phased housing, right? No, some folks aren't gonna be able to afford to buy what he's building.
Good.
Please understand that. But also, when that happens, a young buyer moves out of an apartment, buys his product. Now that frees up housing for somebody, a new up-and-comer that's leaving their parents' house. They move into said apartment, right? That's how this works. And I struggle that people just feel he's out here to make money, but that's what he does. He's supposed to build. He's supposed to make money.
You gotta address us, not the audience.
This gentleman is building to make money. He has to pay the people that works for him. He has to make a living. We don't have to agree with it, but what he's trying to bring to this community is housing, right? And like I said earlier, yes, we need green spaces, we need all that, right? Nobody else has stepped up to do that part. I feel what he wants to do is what's needed. Other people have to step forward and do the other things that are needed. We can't ask one individual developer to do it all. He's doing what he's doing at best, right? And I think the township should encourage and recruit other developers to do the same. There's programming you guys can create. You guys can ask for initiative funds. You guys can do that. The next developer comes to you, this is what we want. We'll work with this ordinance, but this is what we want, this zoning. You guys can set that up. Hey, we're willing to do this. We're willing to work with you, right? We're willing to seek to understand, like Kelly said earlier. That's what you guys have the opportunity to do when developers come to you. So I encourage you to think about that, right? And I encourage our community to think about this. See the big picture. Seek to understand, what can we do, right? I think a lot of us get frustrated because we don't understand. Seek to understand, have conversations, right? Because if you don't seek to understand, all you're gonna do is sit back and complain, right? So I applaud anybody who wants to come to our community and build, right? But you guys also have the ability to state what that's gonna look like, right? So I appreciate you guys taking into consideration what this developer like to do. But, you know, maybe you have conversations with him, hey, we're also thinking about this. Does this work for you? Right? You guys have that opportunity. You guys set the direction. It's a unique opportunity. A unique opportunity. And I know a few of you, and I know you guys are honored to do the work. It's not easy work. People come out here and talk all kinds of crazy.
Thank you.
I'm not that one.
So, the previous board, Planning Commission, voted to not push this or not accept this and recommended not approving this to the Township Board. And then the Township Board went on their merry way like they have been for the past year, and 4-3 voted that they wanted to pass. And it just went through. It was brought on as affordable housing. That was the claim. $350,000 or $350 a square foot, whatever it is, that's not affordable. And I get it. Some people don't want the homeless community or the poverty-ridden people in their community, but this is Comstock. It's filled with it. This developer has a habit of doing this, and it's just crazy. But I'll let it be known. I'm speaking in my personal capacity, so when I get an email, please send it to my personal email. Thanks.
Thank you. If there's no further comment for the public hearing, we can look for a motion to close public hearing.
I'll make motion to close public hearing.
Support.
Motion made to close public hearing by Commissioner Sherwood, supported by Commissioner Nichols. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. We'll close public hearing, and we'll open up the discussion for commissioner comments. Do we want to invite Mr. Watts to the podium first, so that if there's anything you want to add, share with us? Would love to hear it.
I'll let Paul go first, the engineer, and then I'll follow up.
My name's Paul Schramm. I was the engineer who drew this up. I have the privilege of doing most of Matt's engineering. He's brought us some pretty good projects. We did a site condo kind of over by the new Planet Fitness over the last couple of years. I think we're pretty close to getting starts in there, but it's just a different product than what we have before you tonight. We're proposing 3 phases. We've done a lot of research as far as making sure that that the roads are the right shape and size and stuff like that satisfy the road commission standards. And Matt's done, I think I started talking with him over a year ago about the feasibility to get a neighborhood in that had all the public utilities, that there was a way in to get the sewer, to make the sewer work. How could we make sure that we had enough pressure and flow on the with the water supply? We've spoken with the city of Kalamazoo exactly about what's available. And we have a really good plan, not only to serve the first phase and the second phase when maybe there isn't a lot of people in here, but to maintain water quality. And then at the end of the day, we'll be improving water quality, I think, in the neighborhood that we're kind of connecting to with the new loop and a bunch of extra water usage that there's not many people using the water, and we have to build 8-inch mains at a minimum. So the water can get kind of old in the little neighborhoods, and adding this many people, I think it'll be a positive for that community, or that part of the community too. We have 46 units. I know that the limit to having 2 access drives is 50. So we've phased this in a way where in our next phase, we've got phase 1 up here on the board now. We'll have a temporary turnaround. That's a pretty standard practice. That turnaround easement will go away, and the second phase will demolish that cul-de-sac, and phase 2 will create that secondary connection coming back out to Willett. And then the third phase is kind of the final leg. We've planned our stormwater to the extent that frankly, we have to, but probably better than that. We're pretty confident in the stormwater management system, as well as how we get the water in and the sewer out. So we've taken this maybe a little further than we need to, but we really wanted to make sure that this would work before we brought it to you.
Good evening. Thank you for having us here tonight to discuss this new development. I first of all want to address the community concerns from the one gentleman on Fordham. So in the map, you can see on the left side, right there, we have created a green space to all the houses that are back to Fordham, okay? From the back property line of those 8 to 10 houses there to your back property line is over 100 feet. So we have preserved vegetation and a buffer to keep you guys as far away as possible and keep it as natural as possible.
Thank you.
Okay? It was great to talk to Kelly the other night, or day, during her work day and my work day, who had a lot of concerns. And we talked for an hour, like she said, and I addressed all of her concerns, okay? We talked about traffic. We talked about the homeless. We talked about the number of units. So and if anyone else here lives in that neighborhood, this is the gist of it. This is proposed as a site condominium, okay? With a site condominium, there are a lot more rules and regulations that these owners have to abide by compared to a general ordinance with a township. It's not a plat. Why do we do it this way? Because we keep more control over the neighborhood. Okay? The ordinance officer in Comstock's not going to have to go out to this development because we are going to have it dialed in a lot more than anybody else. Okay? The homelessness is a problem in that field. Kelly walks her dog out there all the time. And this is going to help maybe relocate the homeless so it's safer back there. Kelly asked the other day too, could she walk her dog out there before we start construction? I said, you're more than welcome to. People are still using that field even though I own it. But I give people the option, if they want to do it, they can. And to address the individual that said these are going to be $350,000 houses, that's not true, okay? The development that we have behind Planet Fitness right now is scheduled for $400,000 and above. 33 new lots that are coming to Comstock Township. This is going to be a step down, okay? They're going to be smaller houses on smaller lots to get the density. What does increased density do? It gives you more of a tax base in the township for more amenities. To the comment that I'm just out here to make money. My family and business has been here since 1975. We built over 500 homes, condominiums throughout the whole community, as well as the Comstock Commerce Park, the Comstock East Fire Station. Our office is still here on Gull Road. We haven't relocated with all the turmoil that's going on in Comstock. We've kept our home base here since 1975. So yes, I'm in the business to make money. I have to support my family, just like everybody else does. If you don't like the way I do it, you know what? That's your fault. You could have bought the land. It was for sale for years, but nobody did. Since 2019, home prices have risen over 50% on average, far exceeding the 22% wage growth in that same period. So there's a huge discrepancy there. Many aspiring home buyers have found themselves priced out of the market, while current homeowners are reluctant to move into a higher priced neighborhood because of high interest rates. It's the way it is right now. We need more attainable housing in Comstock. This housing isn't for everybody, okay? What someone can afford at $250,000, another person can. I understand that, but it gives Comstock a tool to have multiple price point homes in the township. The housing study that I believe, Casey, you said it was a $50,000 grant from the John Institute, $50,000 study. By 2030, Kalamazoo County needs over 8,000 units, just the county of Kalamazoo. Comstock needs over 175. Where are the new units going to come from if nobody's building houses in Comstock? Current market conditions as of today on the real estate board. There are 10 active houses for sale in Comstock Township, Comstock schools, okay? With an average list price of $302,250. With an average built age of 1939, which puts those houses at 87 years old. There are 12 pending sales with an average sale price or list price, because it's not closed in the computer yet, of $244,052 with an average built price of 1961. 65-year-old homes. I spoke to Mike at CABA the other day to get the information on new construction homes only in Comstock Township. 2025, there was only 9 new construction homes built. 9. 2 of them were mine. 2026, year to date, there has been 3 new construction permits pulled. All 3 of them were in the mobile home park on 30th Street. The housing is going down like this. It used to be really busy, now it's down to this. Comstock has no housing. From that $50,000 survey and study that the Upjohn Institute did, Comstock residents only, 60% said they want income diversity in the housing market. 23% say affordable, smaller housing is what's desired. 22% said that the type of housing of condos and senior options is very important. And 68% want to build or have duplexes, townhomes, and cottage courts. Then their survey was asking if they plan to move in the next 5 years, what are the top 2 answers that they had? Number 1, affordability. Number 2, downsizing. They want to go from the bigger house, they want to get smaller. And then a couple follow-ups on the study. The seniors represent an important demographic area with affordability and downsizing needs. Much of the housing stock is aging and will require ongoing investment. So if you have a 70-year-old lady or husband that's widowed, and they can't take care of a 1939 average house in Comstock right now, a new house that's maintenance-free on the exterior is a good tool to have. This is just another housing option tool for the township. There's no other options in the township right now for a house price from $200,000 to $300,000. There's 0. And I'm proposing to only do 138 new single-family homes built in 3 phases. R1C says I can build up to 7 units per acre per the township ordinance. My proposal is just over 4 units per acre when we're all built out. Also, in our layout, I provided over 10% green space that is not required for this neighborhood. This is R1C cluster. There's no requirements at all for green space. I'm doing that. And I could also build 2 to 4 unit buildings and have the density of over 200 units in that area. And I'm only doing 138 single family homes. This will also have a positive impact on our school that everybody keeps beating up every day at all these meetings, because it'll bring more tax base and hopefully more families into the system. So a couple of the residents that reached out to me, what were their concerns? Will there be a southern access point to Fordham neighborhood? No, that's closed off. It's only going through Leigh and Margaret. Site drainage, everything on that site is going to drain to the south, so it won't affect anyone on Leigh and Margaret currently. And is this Section 8 housing? No. This is workforce attainable housing for people, roughly in the 80 to 120% of the median income range in Kalamazoo County. What does that equate to? $48,000 a year on the low end to $120,000 on the high end. I'm sorry, $73,000 on the high end. We need more housing in Comstock. No one's sticking their neck out to do anything. And we've been here since '75, and we're willing to do it. So I ask you to approve this tonight so we can take this to the next step. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's start, if anyone has comment or questions for Mr. Watts, maybe we can start there and then we can discuss.
That's real good.
Joseph, do you have something?
Yeah, I had a question. Is it your intention to sell any of these as bare lots, or are you going to build every building on these?
My intent is to be the exclusive builder in there, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you going to have like standard plans, or are they going to be custom built?
We are currently designing them right now. We are a custom home builder, and we do all of our design work in-house. So if a lady, a man comes to me and they have specific requirements, we'll design it. That's what we've done our whole life.
Okay.
Greg?
Nothing yet.
Bob?
just one question, Matt. If someone wants to come in and buy 4 lots and build a bigger house?
No,
No, okay.
no.
So they're all,
Two is a potential, 4 no.
okay.
No. Because the other thing on that too, that people don't realize is with the new accessory structure ordinance that you guys passed, or the board passed, but you guys helped write it, there could still be accessory structures behind these houses based on your current codes. By me having attached garages with these houses, I think that's going to minimize the concept of putting more barns or storage facilities in the backyards of these units. So that's why I want them to all be at least 1 car, if not 2 car garage attached to the house. So I think for curb appeal, that makes it a heck of a lot better looking. So,
Up to 2 units they can purchase to build that?
yeah, that would be the max.
Larry?
I'm good.
I have a couple questions for you. So I see in the phases that you have potentially different lot sizes. So are you anticipating maybe different size homes in some of these, or will they all be fairly standard sized?
Most of them, the footprint has to be 60-foot minimum. So most of them are going to stay, we have to have a 10-foot side
Right.
setback and a 5, so 15 total. So what's that give me? Basically a 44-foot wide house.
Right.
Because you don't build on 1-foot increments.
Yeah, I did quick math and I have a really ugly sketch here, so yeah.
So from that standpoint, we obviously have a footprint we have to stay within.
Right,
But because we've done this, my dad is a graduate architect from Michigan. He's down in Florida bugging me all day long. Hey, what about this plan? What about that plan? So there's going to be all different ranges of houses to do. It's whatever people can afford.
yeah.
So-
Because I mean, a few feet sounds like not a lot, but when you multiply it out, you could get a little bit of different range and flexibility for
Correct.
people, so.
Yep. And we don't want to have 2 or 3 stock plans. We want to have ranchers. We want to have 2 stories. So we want the flexibility there, so it's just not all the same looking house for 138 units.
Okay, I have a question, and maybe it's for you, and maybe it's for Casey and Kyle. This is, again, site condominium new to me, so I'll sound silly here and be vulnerable and ask a question. Obviously, that comes with association
Correct.
rules and regulations that get written in basically to the deed, correct? Do we get visibility to those? When does the township get visibility to those?
Typically,
Or do we not?
typically the attorney is going to have to approve the condominium documents. So the master deed and bylaws would be reviewed typically towards the end of the project for like final approval. The township board would be contingent on final approval of the master deed and bylaws.
Correct. And to also answer your question, so Wesley Farms, a new development behind
Yeah.
Fitness, that's also site condo. So we took the information from the township ordinance, which is the bare minimum, and we increased our standards to make it, I guess, tighter and more restrictive so that stuff can't sprawl everywhere. We want good curb appeal because what's good curb appeal? People buy,
Property value,
right?
right.
So,
Yeah, I guess that was my question, is just if there's anything that, for anyone that's listening, that you might give us a preview too of things like that. Like, what does that entail? Does that?
okay, so just one of the things in a development that always is a pain in the butt is garbage Kirbies. They leave them out for 5 days on the side of the road. Well, our structure is going to say you can put it out the day before, garbage, and make sure it's removed the day after. Okay, if not, you're going to get a note in the mail. And then if you don't do anything, now if you're on vacation and something happens, it's one thing.
Right.
But if you don't abide by these rules, we have an attorney that can write a letter just like that and say, listen, you signed off on when you bought this house, these are the rules you have to abide by. So typically they don't want to get into a fee structure of paying fines, so.
Right, and then you have a board that would manage all of those things.
When you have an association, there's typically a board of 3 to 5 people. And that's usually the developer, and then as more units are bought, the developers go off the board, like one at a time. Then you get to the point of 95 or 99%, I think, Rob, or something like that, where the developer is off the board and then all the citizens or the residents own it.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you. Go ahead, Bob.
What about, went off, street parking? Are there regulations or road commission handle that? I mean, you can't.
The road commission handles that, but every driveway is going to be a concrete driveway. It'll probably be a 2-car driveway anyway, so there will be parking off-site at everybody's house.
Because I know if you drive down Casper and Borges at certain times, you can't get down Casper or Borges.
And these, I mean, we're going to require concrete driveways or asphalt driveways. We're not going to have gravel driveways because that helps with the curb appeal. That also leaves less dirt and junk in the storm system and on the road, so it keeps it cleaner as well. So every development that we've done in Comstock, from affordable housing out in Galesburg behind the old Ford dealership for 4 phases, all the way to Planet Fitness, Wesley Farms right now, we've had good standards.
Yeah.
And people pay attention and they abide by them typically. You'll get 1 or 2 that wants to be a Rambo, but that's what attorneys are for. You write a letter and they usually fix it.
That's anywhere.
So.
Larry?
How many different house plans are you anticipating?
We are working on some right now. We're looking like 8 to 10 different plans. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. We want flexibility. If we have one lady or male that's can barely get around and she wants a 1-bedroom, a 1-bath, a 1 or 2-car garage, barrier free, we'll build that for her. We'll design it if we don't have it in our archives to make it work. So it's not like cookie cutter, this is what you get, buy it, shit out of luck.
Yeah, that was my concern.
We're going to customize it to the client. So, yep. And that's what we've done for every development here. Just like the commercial park. We designed every building in there to the customer's needs. So.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions for Mr. Watts?
I'm sorry, Matt.
You have to adjust the board.
Yeah, it's not public comment right now. I'm so sorry.
Just remember it.
Okay, thank you so much. We'll discuss. All right. Any discussion amongst us? Larry, go ahead.
I think all we're doing here is just approving whether the plans meet with our ordinance, isn't it?
The size of the lots and
Right.
roads and whatnot. Yeah, no housing.
Right.
Yeah, and we make a recommendation to the township board. So
Right.
it really is ultimately their decision to approve or deny. We just get to make a recommendation.
The only thing I would like to see reflected in the minutes and possibly in the recommendation is whether the township should consider whether these should be public streets or private roads. I think different communities handle it differently, and maybe it should be a question the board should address.
Mr. Watts, would you or Mr. Schramm speak to that about the difference between public and private roads? Would you be comfortable doing that? And then the benefits are, kind of what you see when you're designing these for public versus private?
Usually the decision about public and private has a lot to do with the time to frankly, to get the subdivision approved. Usually the public street is a little more challenging and takes more time with the road commission, and I think that they have, I truthfully, I haven't read your private street standards, if you have them, because our intention is to build public roads. They may or may not precisely match the road commission standards. A lot of communities do that. They put in their ordinance that the private roads will satisfy the standards of the road commission. That way there's not too much deviation from the community's perspective. But really the hardest thing about private streets is that if you go private with your road, the association usually, I'm not aware of a time when we've done private streets in a plat. I don't even know if you can, but anyway, it's always a site condominium, so there's an association, and the fee structure has to pay for snow clearing, and the fee structure has to support the eventual replacement of the road surface, which is frankly pretty expensive. So private roads, maybe there's some more control. Maybe, I know some developers feel that the road commission is too slow to plow, and they want the ability to, they'd rather have that higher fee structure. They'd rather clear their own snow, and have that done maybe before the road commission would otherwise plow the streets where, maybe it depends on where you are. Allen Edwin, for instance, they've pretty much gone to all private streets in their subdivisions, unless they have to go public, at least in Kalamazoo County. But we want to stick with a private street here, or I'm sorry, a public street in this project. I'm glad to answer more specific stuff about the public versus private if you have another question.
What I'm hearing in that is that by keeping it public, you're not passing on a cost to those that are living in it. So there's a benefit there of.
And it's a big cost
Right.
when it comes time to pay for those roads and resurface those roads. The subdivision has to have, $1 million in the bank to do that project, and sometimes saving that up and having the discipline to keep that pile of money around is challenging.
To answer that as well, typically when you do a private road, you have to have a 10% reserve fund in your associations. So that does add quite a bit. And as a public road, the township will get road money for having those as public roads as well. Also with private roads, you can typically make them smaller, so you don't have to do a 66-foot right-of-way. But then that also can inhibit the safety when you have fire trucks coming in side by side. If there's a bad fire or whatever, there's pros and cons to that. And that's why the Wesley Farms development that we just got completed, we did site condo, public roads. And I can tell you what, the road commission is all over us about making sure everything is up to specifications. So, and they camera all the storm system, everything. So they're dialed in on what's required.
Thank you. Anything else? My 2 cents, while it might be an unpopular opinion, I think it's interesting or maybe beneficial, like some positives here is that we weren't really in favor of the redwood situation. This gives flexibility. It's not cookie cutter. There's pride in ownership. So getting 78% of what we need to get in terms of new homes, it's a solid start.
And I would have to say that some of my fears for this development have been allayed by Mr. Watt's intentions to develop these as single-family homes. And hopefully some of them will be smaller and affordable.
All right, so again, do we need to go through this? Kyle kind of took us through all of the pieces, everything.
Yeah, I think, you do have to make findings, but you can base it on the standards that your planner took you through. But you should reference them and incorporate them directly. And were there some things, Kyle, that they need to address, do you think, specifically?
Amber, can I make one last comment before you guys start?
Sure.
So I just want to let you know, I met with Mary Balkamo, the Kalamazoo County Housing Coordinator today to discuss a couple financial options for TIF money. And she informed me today that this project would support receiving TIF money over a course of 25 years if I was to build a development, as long as the first 4 homes in the neighborhood met that 80 to 100%, 80 to 120% adjusted gross income or AMI for Kalamazoo County. So people that are in the 48 to 73,000, if the first 4 sales included that, then what that's going to do, that's going to bring the lot cost down because they'll help offset some of the infrastructure costs.
Could you explain what TIF money is?
It's basically kind of like a tax reimbursement. So basically, you go in, you spend $2 million on the infrastructure, and they have specific criteria that you have to abide by and what they'll pay for and what they don't. All right? But by doing this, and you're supplying housing, or, yeah, basically supplying housing to people in that workforce salary range, that there's grant money out there, or state money that'll help offset those costs to make the units less expensive for the site development. It's not for the house, it's just for the site development. So your sewer and your water, because it's all going to be city water, city sewer, so your infrastructure costs are quite high because of that.
That should bring the overall cost down, though.
Correct, yes.
Shouldn't it?
But the TIF money is distributed over 25 years, not just you get a check, the first year. So, and with the development being done in phases, this isn't going to be 138 houses in 5 years.
Right.
I mean, I wish it would, but there's no way in hell it's going to happen. So from that standpoint, it's going to be, prolonged with that, but it's a tool to be able to recoup money so it makes the lot costs, less expensive for a buyer. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Amber.
I can explain it a little bit more too, if you want.
Yeah,
So-
sure.
Explain where the money is coming from.
Well, right. So with these, just recently, the past couple years, so this was not an option a few years ago, but past few years, they passed a new legislation that allowed them to go under the Brownfield Act, which allows for, talk about the tax capture to develop brownfields. And what they did is they changed it to allow for residential developments to fall within this. It doesn't have to be a brownfield, but they can use the same mechanisms that we use to develop or redevelop brownfields. And so what happens is it's still, the township has to approve, it still goes through what is the county brownfield authority, but it requires township approval first. So if the township doesn't approve the tax capture, it doesn't move on any further, but they would put together basically a brownfield plan or a development plan for tax increment financing. And like he said, they spend, because of how the homes will be valued, they would potentially qualify for that. And if he spends X dollars on infrastructure, he can get approval to capture taxes. So what happens is they value the land as it is now, and then as he builds homes on it, the value goes up, right? So what happens is they capture the tax increase in value from all the different tax entities. That money gets captured by the Brownfield Authority, and then they will distribute out, pursuant to a plan, X dollars every year to the developer for their infrastructure costs. So it's a great tool to reduce the costs for the developer, but it is on the back of all the taxing entities. So from a local standpoint, what I normally would require is a community benefits agreement, because Comstock Township now has all these more residents, they have more services they have to provide to these. So instead of just allowing the capture of our taxes, we would most likely ask for an agreement with the developer to at least get our money back. So the Brownfield Authority pays the developer then reimburses the township for an agreed upon millage rate for the services we provide, because we are the direct provider of services to those homeowners. Now, it does capture all the other taxes until those amounts are paid off under the plan that would be approved by the county. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's my understanding also. That's a separate agreement, though, that he would have to apply for?
Yeah, he has to
not
go.
implied in the approval of the condo plan?
No, it's really a tax, totally a tax issue, a development issue, but not anything that the Planning Commission approves. It's something that he would come forward with to the Township Board and the County Brownfield Authority and ask for that type of tax capture. But frankly, what we're going to see is I wouldn't develop residential property unless I were to get you're going to see it, almost all developers are going to ask for it. Might not get it, but they're going to at least try to get it. Because if you can get a few $1 million or more in your infrastructure costs, the project I was just working on, I think they were going to get maybe $10 or $12 million back over a period of time, like 15 years. for their infrastructure costs in a large development. So if I were a developer, that's where I would be looking to develop, is places that will offer that. So to be competitive, it's probably something the township would have to look at.
I'm going to ask another question. So if we say, okay, so he applies, there is this community agreement, and money comes back, how does that benefit him if he is just washing the money back to us?
Well, because he's going to, the millage rate of the township is so you might collect 35 mills or whatever X number of mills in the township. The township's only levying, maybe less than not very much in millage, maybe 5 mills with police. It's just not a large portion of it. So there's a lot of other taxes, the county taxes, the other entities, the school taxes, everybody else's taxes are captured. I just like to see if we're going, and I haven't talked about this with the township at all, but normally my recommendation is that for the township to agree to it, we have to be kind of held harmless, at least for, police, fire, those type of services that we provide. I even think general operating, you have elections, you have a lot of administration that goes to it. I like to see the local entity made whole, but, there's still a lot of other taxing entities. The majority of taxing entities are going to have their funds captured.
So it protects sort of Comstock Township, and we take advantage of the taxing benefits?
Yes. Yeah.
Got it.
That's the way I would recommend.
Okay. Just think it's worth knowing that and understanding that. Any other conversation, discussion? Otherwise, we'd be looking for a motion. We do need to talk through those findings. I guess I have one last question is, it's highlighted on the residential street, the greater than 1,000 linear feet, which that's not our approval anyway.
That's not, but in your findings, you could discuss the merits of that waiver. I know when we've discussed with the applicant and their engineering team on this, that will impact site design if it's not approved. I mean, we're looking for housing here. This is a beneficial plan. It will impact if we have to consider then adding more roads. Now you're taking away housing. It just gets muddy with that. Based on where we're at here, and I think it's 1,300, 1,400, it's not an exorbitant amount additionally beyond 1,000, especially with the site plan that Casey's had up there too. We're a few hundred feet in addition to it. Mr.
So I got that letter. I received that letter from Chief Beauchamp in regards to the 1,000 feet or whatnot, and he stated they don't have a concern with it because there's going to be city water there, and we're going to have fire hydrants every 300 to 400 feet, whatever they require. So by having, X amount of feet more for road, it's not going to matter because it's not negatively impacting the safety and welfare of the residents. So, and Casey does have that letter in her emails.
Thank you.
And that's normally the consideration for the length of the road is fire safety is normally the consideration why it's limited to 1,000.
Great.
So yeah, Madam Chair, you'd be going through your standards, and if the commission feels inclined to make a recommendation tonight, we'd probably just ask that you also opinion on the 1,000-foot waiver that's being requested. Again, it's ultimately up to the township board, but you can comment or weigh in on that provision as well and give your insight.
Thank you.
Do our bylaws apply as far as,
That's my next question.
okay, as far as tabling this for one meeting?
The only thing I would say, I believe they probably do, but the one thing I would say is that under the ordinance, you have to act within 45 days of receiving the plan. They can waive it the developer can allow a waiver for a longer period of time. But, based upon when they submitted their resubmittal, it looked like March 4 or something. Is that correct?
Yeah, and the plans came in prior to that too. So.
But I think you probably would go off of the date when they, gave you the complete plan, which I don't know when your next meeting is, but you'd want to make sure if you don't take action tonight, per your bylaws, obviously your bylaws allow you to waive that.
But it still has to be then handled by the township board as well within that 45 days, correct?
No.
No,
It's
just us.
the planning commission
Okay.
has to make its recommendation. If you don't do it timely, then it's just considered, it just goes straight to the township.
Got it. Thank you for that clarification. So we have to make a decision of A, do we want to waive the bylaws tonight and make a decision? Or our next scheduled meeting is March 26th, so we would be, that's correct, right, Casey? Yes. So we would be within 45 days. Should we choose to wait, we would be okay.
I don't see any reason to hold it up another few weeks. I mean, it isn't gonna, I don't think it's gonna change anything. I haven't heard any reasons why we should table it.
I agree.
Thoughts?
I don't think anything's going to change.
I'm in that camp too. So then we would need a motion to waive our bylaws. Joseph, thoughts? Because it has to be unanimous, so.
I understand. Go ahead and make a motion.
I make a motion that we waive our bylaws. Send it to the township board.
Support?
Motion made by Commissioner Sherwood, supported by Commissioner Nichols to waive our bylaws and make a recommendation tonight. Let's do this as a roll call vote, please.
Gotcha. Commissioner Nichols?
Yes.
Commissioner Sherwood?
Yes.
Commissioner Nowak?
Yes.
Commissioner Weintraub?
Yes.
Commissioner, Chair Lawrence?
Yes.
Motion passes 5 yeas, 0 nays.
All right.
And the Madam Chair, if I could, at this next stage, just for record retention and discussion, if the board, commission feels inclined, go through the parts that are listed in here and just amongst yourself determine, do you feel that they have been satisfied or not? That is, it starts your kind of fact-finding process up here. Again, part one being submission of completeness. Do you find that the applicant has met these mission requirements? And then work through the different parts that are outlined in the ordinance, and if there's any questions. And that will set you kind of up for your recommendation to approve it, recommend approval, recommend, however you so choose.
All right. We will roll right on through. I'll just take us through then. So application on township approved form, that was submitted. Anyone have any concerns there? Legible copies of preliminary plan, that's listed as a TBD to be confirmed by the clerk. Do we get confirmation?
So we received plans. We put TBD on there because we didn't, our team was unaware or not clear if you wanted 24 copies of a plan set. We felt it was probably excessive in that regard. However, that is an ordinance standard, so that's why it's to be determined on there from the commission. Again, we have digital copies now. We can get print copies, so that's why that was listed as to be determined.
Anyone have any concerns about that?
I think it's a lot of copies.
In the days of electronic submissions, we need to be flexible in that regard.
I would agree. All right, plan prepared by registered civil engineer or land surveyor. We heard from the engineer tonight, so seemingly no concerns. Road layout, sorry, I skipped. Contour intervals shown.
4 feet, yeah, they are.
We're good? All right. Road layout indicated. We saw that. Lot building site layout with size, shape, and common open space. We have that limit, that indicated as partially provided.
And that is my error. That has been corrected upon his resubmission. I just unfortunately did not update your table provided there, but that is noted on the updated findings.
Right.
Yep, I saw that too. Public sewer water service indicated, that was pretty clear.
Yep.
Floodplain location and size indicated, also marked as outside of a floodplain for us. Stormwater disposal method indicated, we saw it and we heard it from the engineer tonight. Adjoining land plan, if proprietor owns or plans to acquire adjoining land. Yes, TH?
Again, that comes from the determination on that little stub on Fordham. Again, our understanding with the applicant is that he submitted the intent with this parcel with no apparent expansion plans. So, yes.
Right, because it's under 66 feet, so. Okay. And application fees submitted.
Yes.
Great. So part 1 seems to be satisfied with all those findings of facts. Great. Part 2, street standards, thoroughfare plan compliance.
Again, Madam
Partially.
Chair, we put this on there because we were unclear if the township does have a thoroughfare plan. I have not seen one in the 2 years I've been here with the township. I could be inaccurate on that one, but our understanding again is because they are maintained by the County Road Commission, it would follow through with the County Road Commission plan. So that's why that one's only kind of partially listed here.
That sounds...
Unless Mr. Sherwood, not to put you on the spot, are you aware of any? Thank you.
No.
Yeah, that sounds like we're checking the box there with the County Road Commission anyhow. Continuation of existing streets, partially. Again, I'm assuming that was because of the question about...
Question on Fordham. Yep.
Okay, which we got that answer. All right, extension to the boundary for future projection. Indicated yes. Primary road, major thoroughfare treatment, not applicable. Assumption is because that's a county road, right?
Correct, in that they're tying, the plan is to tie into local streets and not directly to East H Avenue, Sprinkle, or so forth. These are local roads and not a primary or collector or arterial road in that classification.
Thank you. Private streets, not applicable. 2 or more access streets, yes. Street naming conventions, yes. Intersection angles, yes. Offset intersections to be determined.
That is based on the final engineering drawings from their team, just to make sure that the road commission aligns with it. Final site design is good. You know, the applicant doesn't run into some unforeseen, storm issue in there, or some grading issue that, we were unaware of. So we believe this will be met. But again, there's always, I'm sure, site design issues that could arise.
So would it be appropriate in our motion to say like approval or denial with conditional meeting of this finding of fact, or is that not necessary?
I'll turn to Mr. Thal on that one. However, my understanding would be kind of more as a commission. Do you guys feel that's needed? I mean, everything else has been satisfied. The applicant, has advised of this. I'm sure he can provide further clarification when you get the engineered drawings on that. So.
Okay. Max residential street. So again, that's the greater than 1,000 feet, and we should acknowledge in our motion how we feel about that, or our approval or denial to the board. Primary road row width, yes. And permanent dead end street length, yes. Moving on to part 3, lots and building sites. We are compliant with the minimum square footage for the lots. Minimum is 6,000 square feet. All phases are showing greater than that. Minimum unit width, 60, yes to all of those. Setbacks for R1C, front 25 foot, rear 35 foot, sides 10.5 feet.
10 and 5.
10 and 5, sorry. And yes, access to public or private streets, yes. Reserve strips, yes. None proposed. Natural features preservation. So we have that back end buffer. That's what we're preserving, right?
And then again, as noted in the findings on the previous page under the March 4th, there are provisions in the site condo development that do require removal of trees and natural features in the roadways. So they kind of counter each other in that regard. So which is why we felt it prudent to put that in there for you in case there was discretion or concerns on preserving natural features. It's an admirable goal. However, later on in the site design and condo documents, it requires removal of natural features for the roadways. So.
Understood. And floodplain, yes, we're clear of a floodplain. All right, part 4, additional comments and considerations.
That was our own.
Go through that?
Nope, that was our own findings on there, just so you as a commission were, aware of what's needed in there and what we found.
So seemingly we are in good shape with all of the findings of facts that need to be addressed. And with that, we'd be looking for a motion.
Well,
Yes, sir.
you mentioned that on the exception to the 1,000 foot, that we should determine how we feel about that. And I'm not sure we've really come to a discussion on that, have we?
We can certainly discuss it.
Yeah, I mean, there was discussion about whether the fire department was satisfied with that, but, I don't know. I'm still unhappy with the streets and the street length and stuff, but, I'm not sure, how you want to phrase that or how we should address that. As I stated before, the township, I think, should think about the question of how they want these streets maintained, but it's up to the township board, so.
My thought was that we would, whoever makes a motion would say that, you know, we recommend the modification or we don't recommend the modification in the motion, but certainly open to have some discussion about it if you want to have a consensus before somebody makes a motion.
Personally, I don't see it as a real issue since there's really no safety issues. It's a little longer than we like it.
Speed, but you're gonna
yeah.
get that in every neighborhood. You get the fast drivers in every neighborhood regardless of length. Probably.
Yeah, and I'm not sure how you stop that.
Yeah.
I don't know if those are legal, are they?
They are, we're getting them on Casper. They've been approved.
Yeah, it's just up to the county road commission whether they'll put them in or not on a public road. It can be a public road, so it'll be up to them whether or not they'll allow it.
Would it be appropriate if we were to make a recommendation of saying, hey, yes, but we would encourage the township board to work with the road commission to see if something can be done to help with speeding issues or concerns? So that's an option.
Can I say something to that? I'm sorry.
It's not, unfortunately, I'm sorry.
Road commission with this. It's a neighborhood traffic study.
This is conversation up here.
And how long are the roads?
It would be nice if there was a little more character in the roads, but I understand to keep costs down and affordability. It needs to be this way.
Okay.
Right?
Okay. All right, good enough.
Thank you. Yeah, my street's fast.
I agree. I don't think that there's anything wrong with encouraging the township board to explore that with the road commission, but since there's fire hydrants and we're on city water, that would be probably my biggest concern, which is satisfied.
Madam Chair, on that, not that it's a requirement, but you could ask that the applicant reach out to the road commission as part of his development project and approval and see what their initial feasibility or findings are of this. We've heard that, you know, a road study or traffic study would be needed. However, during their application process for the roads, you could ask Mr. Watts if he would be amenable to connecting with the road commission on that point.
Yeah, I mean, I met with them already and gave them I'm sorry. I already met with them and gave them the layout, the proposed layout. And that's why they said they had no concern that we need to do a traffic study and whatnot. So because it's going to be increase in length a little bit, they had no issue with it, as long as we had the proper cul-de-sac turnaround for safety for the fire trucks and our road width and our fire hydrants. So yeah, it's not, I mean, because if you turn around and you try to cut it off at 1,000 feet, then you have to go horizontal with that. Now you're starting to lose 8 to 10 lots. And then therefore the lot prices go up and your infrastructure. So. In case he does have that email.
Up to the commissioners now on how anyone would like to phrase a motion, and then we can vote and decide how we all feel about the motion that comes before the board.
Go for it, Greg.
I think we can make a motion to approve said layout for the roads and lot sizes for Matt Watts Construction.
Well, would be recommending approval to the township board based on our findings of fact that we covered
Right.
for the site condominium plan. Is that correct?
Correct, and you should probably address, you know, your recommendation, in that recommendation, anything about the length of the road.
The road needs
So
I
in,
think you just said it.
somebody else has to make that motion.
Go ahead, Bob.
You're good.
Okay. I recommend a motion to approve what is it?
Like
Yep,
condominium.
the site condominium review and the extension of the road. How's that?
To the township.
To the township board.
Based upon the findings
Based
of
upon
fact
the findings.
reviewed today.
Yeah, reviewed today.
Perfect.
I'll support it.
I should have wrote that down first.
All right, motion made by Commissioner Noack, supported by Commissioner Sherwood. Let's go ahead and do a roll call vote, if you would, Casey.
All right, Chair Lawrence,
Yes.
Commissioner Weintraub,
Yes.
Commissioner Noack,
Yes.
Commissioner Sherwood,
Yes.
Commissioner Nichols.
Yes.
Motion passes 5 yeas, 0 nays. This will be brought to the Township Board on April 6th.
Perfect. One step closer. All right, moving on to old business. We have landscaping with sample ordinances.
Okay, so minor adjustments from the last meeting. Let me get to my documents. 1 second. Okay, so on the first page, we added that extra line under general provisions, number 3. No landscaping shall be established or maintained on any parcel or any parking lot that will obstruct the view of drivers. That came from, I believe, K Township's ordinance. And then the only other change made from the previous meeting is on the very last page. And that is where I have a question mark for practical and reasonable. We discussed putting that in somewhere to allow for reductions and substitutions based on the discretion of the PC, but I wasn't sure exactly where we wanted to put that phrase at, or if we wanted a different phrase.
Could I address a couple things? So I went through it and looked at it. I would just make a couple comments. On page 30, which is under the general provisions, where we added power lines in there. I think probably, instead of power lines, we should say underground and overhead utilities. So covering both up and down, and sewer and water we would want to cover that. So I think if we would just change that word to underground and overhead utilities, that would work really well there. And then I looked at the last section, in P, where we talked about providing, and this is on page 37, where the discussion was about providing greater flexibility of the planning commission to reduce the standards if the circumstances were met. When I look at the language, the first part of the language ties it into just subsection D rather than the whole, all the requirements for landscaping. I think the way I look at it is the first sentence, you could take out that whole first sentence. And then you could go with the second sentence, and you could add something like the reviewing body may require lesser plantings or such alternate plantings and visual screens and hedges, fences. So I would be just adding the words after require, lesser plantings, or, and then it would continue on such alternate plantings or visual screens as hedges, fences, walls, and or a combination thereof, which it deems necessary to protect public health, safety, welfare, and to assure compliance with the spirit, purpose, and intent of the section. So I think that gives you the most flexibility, depending on the circumstances, for public health, safety, welfare, ensuring the spirit of the ordinance is upheld, gives you the flexibility if circumstances warrant to reduce the plantings if you want, or require something different.
Do we need to include the practical and reasonable?
No, I think if we keep it, I think doing it, I think for the public, it kind of is the
It's
practical and
covered.
reasonable. When you say public health, safety, welfare, that's kind of reasonableness, and then to ensure compliance with the spirit and purpose and intent. I think those things together give you a lot of flexibility when you look at the plan.
The other adjustment I noticed was on page 33 of the packet, G number 2. That was just where we had discussed changing it from 15 to 10 feet on those.
Curbing or median.
Yeah, on those mediums. So just to call that out too.
Yeah.
Any discussion, thoughts on the recommendations from Attorney Thal or what Casey has brought forward for us?
I think we spent quite a bit of time on it the other night. I'm pretty happy.
So then if we're happy with this, we would need to vote to make these amendments and it would go to the township board.
No, you need to, so if you're happy with it, the next step would be to set it for public hearing.
Okay.
You know,
Do
so,
we need to vote for it
yeah,
to go
you
to
should
public hearing?
move, so there'd be a motion to move it forward to public hearing.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to move it forward to public hearing with the changes that we've made.
I'll support.
Motion made by Commissioner Sherwood, supported by Commissioner Nichols to move this forward to public hearing with the changes that were made tonight. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed? No? Motion passes. We'll schedule that public hearing. Perfect. Great. Moving on to the planned unit development revisions.
Okay, so I went through the PUD ordinance from South Haven, which you all were in favor of, and just basically changed all from the city and also South Haven to Township, Township Board, Charter Township Comstock, and then Comstock Township. So where it said City of South Haven, I put in Charter Township Comstock. Where it just said South Haven, we had the shortened Comstock Township. So I'm not quite sure if you guys want to just have it all as Comstock Township or as its full formal name. Sections and numbers also need to be updated, but I figure that could be the last thing done once we all have it sorted out.
Okay. I was going to mention the section numbers, but we'll have to figure out what would be appropriate. The other thing I noticed, Casey, before I get into some of the details, was in the current ordinance, PUD is a special use in a whole bunch of different zones, and we would need to remove that because this is actually going to be a rezoning, not a special use. I know it's in agricultural, it's in a bunch of the residential. I didn't look to see if it was in like the Bs and stuff. And then the only other comment I had, there was one section that we had talked about adding, you know, where we talked about the density bonus. We had some discussion about trying to, I think that's, yeah, under what is currently 1804 here. I did notice the other external references you updated where it referred to different articles like site plan details and stuff. It looked like you had caught those and updated it.
Yes.
Yeah, on our packet, it's page 52, it's section 1804. In paragraph 3, it talks about subsection 5 as far as the density bonus, and I wondered if there was something we could add there as far as affordability and if there was the feeling that something was needed to be added there. We had discussed it, but it didn't get incorporated, and I wasn't sure if we wanted to add anything there or not.
I thought where we landed there was that we didn't need to because it gives the discretion to the planning commission.
Okay.
So we could apply an affordability as our discretion. Is
Right.
that correct?
Yeah, I believe so, and it does allow for quite a large density bonus up to, you know, so
Sure.
that's going to be within the discretion.
Okay, I mean, I didn't have anything specific. I just wanted to make sure everybody else was satisfied with that, so.
I agree. I think affordability is one of our goals, but I thought this kept it flexible for us.
Flexibility is the goal, right? Yeah.
Absolutely. Anyone else? Comments, concerns? Casey.
Oh.
Casey did ask about the charter township versus just Comstock Township. Do we have a preference there? Do we keep it consistent? Do we
Yeah,
ebb and flow through?
What about the rest of the ordinance? Does it just say Charter Township, or does it say Township, or is it mixed?
Yeah, I cannot call off the top of my head. I saw that here, it was a mixture, so I was sure we wanted to keep that mixture. Because it's the city of South Haven says city of South Haven sometimes, says South Haven, so I wasn't sure which one we wanted to use.
Oh, I think we should be consistent.
Well, if we're gonna use Comstock, I need to say charter, so it doesn't get confused with Grand Rapids or
Okay.
other areas.
Okay, yeah.
So maybe just run with the charter, the full name and all of it.
Right?
Right.
Just keep
When
it.
you're ready, I've got a few comments
Yes,
too.
please.
So just on page 50, I just note where it still says South Haven for the master plan on page 50. That needs to be Comstock Charter Township.
Oh, we missed one?
Yeah, on page 50 at the top there. And then, so the minimum acreage, so we allow for gross, and this is, I don't have an opinion one way or another, I just want to highlight this on page 51, where it's talking about minimum acreage. So we have 5 acres, which is a good size for residential PUD. We don't have any size limitation on commercial or mixed-use PUDs, and I don't know if we wanted to do that or just leave it open.
I would prefer to leave it unspecified, because for that kind of, it could be, a quarter acre or something, that's a business that wants to do something that requires a PUD rather than a special use.
Okay.
So,
No,
I think that was intentional to not set a minimum there, but again, I don't know how.
Doesn't leaving it open give us more latitude to control wherever we're going?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be able to go in more places and be offered in more places, and then you can always consider how it fits in that spot.
I mean, conceivably, someone could take an existing storefront or a commercial building and turn it into a mixed-use PUD, and there would be no minimum size. And again, there's never an investment or a right to a PUD. It's always going to be at the discretion of the planning commission. Yes. I mean, no one has a vested right to do anything that this ordinance allows you to do.
So then my next, I go into the legacy PUDs.
Yeah.
Because we say that there were prior to the effective date of this ordinance, numerous PUD developments were reviewed and approved by the township. I don't know how many have actually been approved.
I think we have 3.
2 or 3.
So maybe just strike the word numerous. I mean, I don't think that that's probably,
Okay. Yeah, I knew there were more than one, so I thought it would be okay, but
Yeah, I
if
just
it's
thought, like,
unnecessary,
numerous seems like.
we don't need
we have a-
unnecessary words.
Yeah, I just didn't know how many at all, if we had any or any, so. Let's see. I think those were my only comments.
Last time, we didn't get all the way through it, did we?
We did. We
Did we?
pretty well got to the point where we said we felt like this was what we wanted to adopt because we weren't modifying anything.
Okay.
Yeah, and you really want to avoid, it's a system that works, and so if you start tampering with it too much, you might mess another part of it up, kind of.
We don't need that.
Now, if we were to move this forward to a public hearing and we heard public comment or things like that, we still have the ability to say, hey, based on public comment, maybe we should make an adjustment or something. Right.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, so the purpose of the public hearing is to hear, maybe
Right.
some developers will come and tell you if it's useful or not, or what they think about it. But ultimately, after the public hearing, you can make changes. You don't have to go back to another public hearing unless you're changing something, substantively changing what you're looking at. So for the most part, we're looking at a PUD ordinance. If you're going to have latitude from the public comment to make further changes to it before you send it to the township board.
Okay, so any other discussion, or we would be looking for a motion to move it forward, come back to work on it? How's the consensus of the board?
I don't think we need to work on it again. Let's hear some public comment when it gets that far.
Move it to a public hearing.
I would hope so, yeah, that we could go to the next step.
Then we just need a motion.
I make a motion that we move it to public hearing.
Support.
Motion made by Commissioner Nichols, supported by Commissioner Weintraub to move the PUD ordinance to a public hearing.
And I would just add that in doing so with the text, you would also be identifying where in the, like you said, it's in other areas of our ordinance where it allows for PUDs as special. So at least flagging in the public notice that we would be revising those other provisions accordingly.
You need help with that, Casey? I mean,
For the motion or just to?
no, finding those places. I mean,
I should be able to find it. This will probably be in the April, so I need 15 days from basically Monday to get on the agenda. So probably that first meeting in April. Okay, did you guys vote already?
We have not.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. Would you take us through a roll call vote on that?
Yes.
I guess we don't need a roll call on it, do we? Doesn't matter. All in favor of moving it to a public hearing, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. Motion passes.
Okay, so this will be placed on the same legal notice for landscaping. Legal notices are about $250 a piece, so make sure we get them all the same ones that get charged twice. So yeah, I'll plan on doing that for the April, I don't know what the meeting is, April 9th meeting or so, that public hearing for both of those. Oh, and I probably will shoot to have the section numbers completed by March 26th meeting, so you guys can see that before public hearing.
Excellent. Thank you. All right. Good work. Any other business? Great. We will go back to citizen comment. I won't reread the paragraph, but the same rules apply. You have 3 minutes, and you're welcome to comment.
So some time ago, the Township Board, or well, I should say the Planning Commission voted on this whole Matt Watts construction project, and the community came in numerous numbers in outrage against it. So the Planning Commission decided to make a motion to not recommend, or to recommend non-approving to the Township Board. And then the Township Board did, again, what it does always and approved it. Now it's back here again for another change and an update and more requests, and we're just pushing it through. There's going to be public outrage now that this is going to be public meeting. People didn't really understand what was going on and who it was and all that. The Watts construction has been contentious here for a long time, not even just in Comstock, Portage as well, all that stuff. It's crazy that we're just pushing it through even though we know that the community doesn't want this. I don't know. Something's going on.
Hi, Megan. I'm part of the community. I live 3 doors from where it's happening. Although I don't think it's wonderful, right? I'm not, yay, I'm gonna get everything torn up. We gotta do what we gotta do. My son just got married recently. He's renting an apartment that is 400 square foot and he is paying $2,000 a month for it. He will not purchase one of these for reasons outside of it. It has nothing to do with Matt or the process, but we just had a discussion about it and he was like, I talked to the realtor and I talked to the lady at the bank and I can get approved for one of these homes for that price and be somewhere that I have more square footage and I'm paying less money every month. And when it's time to move out and buy my forever home, I have at least something built into this. So again, although I am not overly excited that I'm gonna lose, right, what is my little walking space and you gotta do something. We can't sit here and complain that we don't have anywhere to put people, and we are not talking about homeless people. I do not feel like the homeless man that's back there leaving his crack pipes that I have to walk around is gonna go get financed for a $250,000 house. But there are people who work every day, like my son and my daughter-in-law. Kind of hard to throw away $2,000 a month on an apartment that you have no stake in or no claim in. I just think just because we don't like what's happening doesn't mean we can't try to see things from different ways. And that's everything that's happening here. But it doesn't matter if the Pope owns the land, right? If somebody owns the land, let them do what they need to do. I don't have the millions of dollars necessary to go develop that property and provide affordable housing in Comstock. And again, we may not think it's affordable, but when I purchased my home, it cost me $2 to buy a gallon of milk. It cost me almost $5 to buy a gallon of milk. I just had this conversation with my husband. Maybe you should go out and shop a little bit, babe, because $200,000, get on Zillow, get somewhere else. You're not gonna buy a home for $200,000 that's not old. I'll sell you my home, somebody can take that, but there's a lot that needs to be done. It was built in like 1940. I just think at times we as a community need to look at the big picture. I'm not thrilled about it. I'm not jumping for joy. I'm not gonna give Matt a gift basket when he comes down the street with his construction crews. But I'm also trying to understand and see and know that I don't have the money to do it. I don't have the money to put up to make this happen. And people deserve homes. And unfortunately, the world that we live in, $200,000 is actually affordable. Sad, but true. It is, well, if you look at it, so, sorry.
Hello. I'm here to speak on the bigger picture also. I agree with everything just stated. In my backyard is currently a forest that I love. I love forest. I don't love neighbors. Would I have loved to buy acres? Absolutely. And live in the country? Absolutely. Can I afford that? No. That's why I live on Casper Street. I think Matt has laid out the best plan possible to attempt to appease everyone, which is literally impossible, especially in the climate nowadays. Everyone is offended, everyone has a problem, everyone doesn't like it, everyone. Well, guess what? It's your guys' job to develop our community for the better, for the positive. Housing, beating a dead horse, we need housing. We need options for that housing, young, old. They need to have the options. He's giving them. He's appeasing the neighborhood, the buffer. Thank you so much. As far as the speeding and the traffic volume, that would be addressed later. Having dealt very closely with the road commission, Ryan Minkus just gave me an update the other day. That would come later if there is speeding that is found to be present. And there is a very long process for that. So speaking on that, that would have to be dealt with later. But yes, so as far as everyone's feelings, comments, and opinions, then they need to come to these meetings. They need to ask questions. They need to talk to Matt and not go on without information, not go on people's feelings, and understand that this is happening and understand that we can't keep our precious forest, even though we want to, so.
This is something real short. The only thing that this will raise the taxes because you're bringing more people in. My biggest concern, because since I moved in my house 2001, taxes have gone up big time. I don't want it to raise my taxes because that just doesn't seem fair. You know, that's one of my biggest concerns. You know, I know the tax bracket for all the new houses will raise the township, the Comstock, so that's one of my biggest concerns, so.
Thank you for your time tonight and listening to what this township needs. In regards to the first gentleman's comment, Watts Construction hasn't built a house in Portage in many years. So whatever that gentleman is spewing, it's not my family or my company. So let's set that straight right now. Taxes, I totally understand the tax thing that they've went up, but just so everyone knows that your tax bill every year can only go up as the CPI number or 5%, whatever is less. So a new home development is really not going to affect individual taxes for the current community. I love the landscape thing that you guys are trying to work through. I love the PUD thing. When you get time in the next week or two before your meeting, just pull down to the new Plan of Fitness. Pull in the side, pull in the back. That had a lot of extra landscaping and curb that they had to spend money on that actually is more of a pain in the ass, because how do you plow in the winter when we've had record snowfalls? It's been a really tough struggle for them to push the snow, and when you've got all these little cul-de-sacs and planting areas. So just take a look at that when you're finalizing your landscape plan to make it a little bit more user-friendly for the businesses coming in. So, thank you.
All right, if we have no further citizen comment, we will move on to updates from other boards. Nothing?
There is a ZBA meeting coming up this month for a house on 428 Morrow. There was a tree that fell on it, I believe, back in August, and the setbacks cannot be maintained as it was built in the 50s. So Larry, heads up, there is a meeting on March 24th for you guys.
All right. Training updates?
None.
Informational future action items?
Yes, so I have I have completed a admin site plan review for a Kalamazoo water pump station, number 25 on 7275 East H Ave. It's on 132 acres owned by the city of Kalamazoo. So it's been there for a while, but last January they had a flood in their main building that damaged a lot of electrical equipment. So they are now rebuilding an accessory structure that will prevent future flood damage. So that could be done in-house as it would just be an accessory structure. Looking ahead to next meeting, a public hearing notice is out for Mark Zanotti's split zone request, so that'll be on the agenda for March 26th. That is the only applicant-based item thus far.
Great. All right, planning commissioner comments. Larry, we'll start with you.
I'm good.
Bub?
I'm good tonight, thank you.
Greg?
I have a few comments. I think if Mr. Watts would have came with plans like this earlier, with more of a description and definitive idea and plan, I think it could have saved him a lot of time, and this would have been gone through quicker. I really like what I saw tonight, although it's not ideal, but I think it does address many problems, many issues that people are looking forward in today's world.
Joseph?
No further comment.
I would just add that, so a couple of things I just feel like it's important to clarify. The outrage that we heard previous had to do with a text amendment to the lot size of R1C, which is not something that was before us to decide tonight. The lot sizes have already been decided, and that's out of our hands. Tonight, we're making a recommendation to approve this site condominium, which also lies in the hands of the township board because it's under a general ordinance, it's not a zoning ordinance. So I think it's just important to understand, and those decisions always for something like this or for a special land use have to be based on findings of fact. We don't get to deny them if the findings of fact are legal and are met. And so I think, we clearly went through all of those tonight and they were met. And I have to be honest, I was not in favor of the Redwood development because I felt like it was very cookie cutter and it just wasn't going to fit. And I think it's really, am optimistic about the fact that there's going to be potentially 10 different designs or 8 different designs and, you know, ranch, 2-story. It's going to keep this site condo not looking like an apartment situation, and it's going to look, you know, I imagine very much like a nice little neighborhood. So those are my thoughts. And with that, this meeting is adjourned.